Lisa Singh wanted to be a magazine cover girl, but instead she's making headlines for being accused of forcing herself on a teenage boy. I'll go through the details of what the aspiring model is accused of doing at her home and where she is now. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Have you ever wondered how we're able to share so many clips from breaking news cases as they're unfolding? Well, here's a secret. Opus Clip is an all in one AI editor that makes it a breeze to cut, create, and upload videos across any platform. Through AI, Opus Clip generates B roll, it reframes footage, and even cleans up audio. Just visit opus.pro/crimefix, sign up, and upload. In minutes, you will have perfectly edited clips ready to go. For TikToks, shorts, or reels, it's a one-stop shop. Having Opus Clip means our producers can post viral updates instantly. This is the most powerful tool for sharing ideas and editing like a pro. Go to opus.pro/crimefix to create your videos today. And for November only, you can get 65% off an annual plan. Lisa Singh, she has a lot of photos on social media where she looks beautiful. In some, she's kind of pouting, trying to look a bit seductive. But her most recent photo, it's not quite as flattering. It's a booking photo from the Duval County Jail in Jacksonville, Florida. Singh is being held there on 2 counts of indecent, lewd, or lascivious touching of certain minors for an alleged incident involving a teenage boy. An officer with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says this incident happened all the way back at the beginning of September and actually happened at Singh's home. The alleged victim, according to detectives, went to Singh's home with a friend to meet one of their teenage friends, and she was not home at the time when they arrived. An affidavit states the victim decided to remain at the suspect's residence as she had invited them over after having an altercation with her husband earlier that day. The victim reported that the suspect displayed flirtatious behavior towards him, often rubbing his arms and shoulders while sitting very close to him. Moreover, the suspect referred to the victim as, quote, babe. At one point that afternoon, the witnesses, numbers 1, 2, and 3, left the victim alone with the suspect. Now, this affidavit claims that Lisa Singh told this teenage boy that her husband just couldn't satisfy her needs. So she told the teenage boy, using really, really colorful language, that she wanted to have sex with him. And it was very vulgar. The affidavit states she then exposed her breasts to the victim and insisted that the victim touch them. The victim complied with the suspect's requests and touched her bare breasts. The suspect also kissed the victim several times and rubbed against his private parts over his clothing. The victim did not express any objections to the suspect as he felt extremely awkward and uncomfortable. He noted that witness 1 saw the suspect kissing him. The victim chose not to participate in a controlled phone call, expressing his discomfort due to the suspect's verbal threats to inflict harm if he reveals anything to anyone. So right there, the victim is saying that Lisa Singh threatened him physically if he were to reveal any of this. The affidavit goes on to state, witness 1 observed the suspect behaving in a highly flirtatious manner toward the victim. He also witnessed the suspect continuously touching the victim on his arm and shoulder. Witness 1 advised he saw the suspect kissing the victim while they were in the living room. Additionally, the victim disclosed to witness 1 that the suspect had exposed her breasts and that he touched the suspect's breast at her request. A detective reached out to Lisa Singh to talk with her about the claims being made, and guess what? She refused to talk to the detective, according to what he wrote. An anonymous tipster called the sheriff's office earlier this month after spotting Singh at an Applebee's of all places. So deputies went to the restaurant and they picked her up on a warrant. Lisa Singh, she's been working hard over the last year or two to get into shape. It's all over her TikTok page and her Facebook. This is a photo that she posted on a Maxim centerfold contest website. Lisa Singh wrote, "Hi, I'm Lisa. Radiant smile, golden hair, and unstoppable energy. A dreamer, doer, and style icon who proves that confidence never goes out of fashion. All right, so to discuss these pretty icky allegations, I want to bring in Mackenzie Sachs. She's a defense attorney who practices in Palm Beach County, south of Jacksonville. So, Mackenzie, the victim in this case is either 16 or 17 years old, a teenage boy. And these allegations, though, are pretty salacious and pretty startling, because this is somebody who would be like a mother figure to this teenage boy. So talk to me, if you would, about your first reaction to reading the probable cause affidavit in this case.
Yeah, my first reaction obviously is that, it is good reminder, I think, to the public that young men and boys are also victims. I think that there is a certain narrative and stereotype around sexual assault victims. And so I think that this is serves as a reminder that it does happen to young boys as well. And I think that it's incredibly sad that, someone like you mentioned, who would be considered a mother figure, it seems to me, based on my reading of the probable cause affidavit, that she might have a son that's around the same age as this boy. And to think that she would take advantage of another boy that's the same age as her son is very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad. I mean, because obviously this teenage boy, you hear about stuff like this. I mean, it almost sounds
Yeah.
like something, and you and I kind of were talking about this offline, about how
Yeah.
this sounds like something you would see in some kind of like movie or TV show. And
Yeah.
it's like, kid goes over to friend's house, and then mom, and I say allegedly because she's innocent until proven guilty, but
Hmm.
there are witnesses in this case,
Yeah.
and then mom allegedly tries to put the moves on a teenage boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of like thinking to myself, yikes. Like, this is really creepy stuff, because you're going over to your friend's house and you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, yeah, it's like my friend's mom. Yeah, like maybe she's trying to get into this Maxim centerfold, contest. She's trying to like work out and look really fit and all of this stuff. And she puts all these pictures on social media. I'm sure this kid is not thinking, this lady's gonna use all this vulgar language and tell me that she literally wants to have sex with me.
No, I mean, you would hope, certainly as a parent too, that when you're sending your child, or your child's choosing to go over to a friend's house, that he's going to be in a safe and responsible environment. And I'm sure that he certainly did not expect to be in the position. And I think what's really sad that sticks out to me is that he felt so uncomfortable and forced in the situation that he couldn't say anything in the moment. And to me, that really shows the exploitation of his vulnerabilities, and, putting him in a situation like that, allegedly, right, is just, it's really unsettling.
It is very unsettling. And, the thing that is so startling to me about this is the fact that, you know, and this kind of makes me feel like the allegations ring true. This kid, the cops were like, well, would you do a controlled phone call? The cops wanted him to call her, get on the phone. They were going to listen to the call. And he was like, no. Like,
Yeah.
he was freaked out. He was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how uncomfortable this made him feel. Because, that to me is like, right there, it seems like he's traumatized by this.
For sure. It sounds like he doesn't want to encounter his abuser again, and he wants to stay away from any interaction with her. There's plenty of times as a defense attorney that I get controlled calls as evidence, and the alleged abuser has not admitted anything on the phone. And then, it's a moot piece of evidence, but still, to make the attempt can be a very powerful tool. And I think that when you have a victim that's not willing to even engage in that, it can definitely be swung as, it's showing how afraid he is, and how uncomfortable he was.
Um, you know, there are witnesses to this too. There are other teenagers who witness this.
Yeah, that is a strong piece of evidence. Again, of course, we get cases all the time where it's just a he said, she said, and there's no real other pieces of evidence other than, an alleged victim's word against the defendant's word. But here you do have another teenager the same age who was there and saying that he saw her making advances on him, that he saw her or kissing the victim. And I can't imagine any context in which that is appropriate. So it certainly does lend itself to a strong piece of evidence for the prosecution.
It really does. Let's look at this now from the defense attorney perspective. If you're a defense attorney in this case, I mean, it sounds like, according to everything we're reading in the affidavit, this woman, there's a warrant out for her arrest, and there's some anonymous tipster calls into the cops and says, "Hey, she's at the Applebee's."
That was interesting to me.
Yeah, it was interesting to me too. It's like they can't find her. I'm like,
yeah,
how is this lady so hard to find?
But she's at the Applebee's.
Yeah, she's at the Applebee's.
Yeah.
Like, that to me is like one of the weirder things about this. Like, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, this lady's trying to get into Maxim and she's at the Applebee's. Like, it just doesn't. I'm kind of like, okay, shouldn't you be like
she's clearly okay with advertising herself, and then they can't find her. So
Right. They can't find her. So they get the anonymous call that she's at the Applebee's. They go and they pick her up at the Applebee's, and she has already refused to talk to the cops. The cops called her and she's like, "Hey, you can talk to my lawyer," which is well within her rights to do that, right? But they've already got witnesses. It's, I don't know if they're going to try to say, the defense is going to say, well, no, these teenage boys, they just all got together and made up this stuff. Even though you've got a teenage boy who's saying, like, yeah, I saw her kind of like doing this stuff. And I mean, she like kissed this boy. She's like exposing herself to him. It's really, I mean, just ick. It's just like ick. He could be your son. And he's your son's friend. And I'm like thinking to myself, if you're a defense attorney, what do you do with this case, Mackenzie? If this case, and you're a defense attorney, lands in your lap and your client's picked up at the Applebee's, she's sitting in the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office jail on a $100,000 bond. She's got a probation violation as well for another case unrelated to this. What do you do with this?
Well, first of all, I am telling her absolutely not to give any statement to the police, right? Unless I'm there for a statement, I'm going to always tell my clients, invoke your right to remain silent. Like you said, that's absolutely her right. We can control the evidence. We have more control over the evidence if you don't give a statement at that point in time. So I would certainly do the same thing there, give the same advice. In terms of an actual defense for the case, I was thinking about this, of course, before we hopped on here. And really the only defense that you can have in this case is that it didn't happen, because there is no defense that, oh, well, he consented, or, he was flirting with me too, I thought he wanted it. The Florida law is very clear. At that age, 16 or 17, with her age, it's illegal, and it does not matter if he consented or he led you on to believe that this was something that he wanted, which I'm not saying, that is the case, but if that was an angle that wanted to be argued, that's not a defense. It's not a legal defense in Florida. You also cannot argue that she didn't know that he was only 16 or 17. Ignorance to age is also not a defense in Florida. So really the only viable defense here is that this didn't happen, and you're going to have to find some pretty strong motive to explain to a jury why these teenage boys would make this up. And obviously we only have the probable cause affidavit right now. We don't know what the other evidence is, but as it stands on its face, that's going to be an uphill battle.
That's very interesting that you have that take. And she's obviously not been able to post bail. She's still behind bars. So she's going to be spending, at least as far as we can tell, the foreseeable future in jail. What's interesting to me is the fact too that, I mean, she has a husband. She's saying my husband can't meet my needs. That's what she's saying
Yeah.
allegedly to this teenage boy. It doesn't look like her husband is coming to her rescue to try
Yeah.
to bail her out of jail.
Yeah, I did notice obviously too that she was still in custody, but I also noted that she didn't have a public defender at her arraignment or her first appearance hearing rather. She had a private lawyer, so or at least she made the court aware of her intention to hire a private lawyer. So to me, that signals there probably are some resources financially somewhere. They might be in a position, and I see this a lot with my clients, where they can't afford both. They can't afford both the bond and, the means for a private lawyer. So they have to pick their priority. I don't know, obviously, what her financial situation is. I can also tell you, as a lawyer, if I have a client who has a violation of probation as well, I'm going to recommend that they don't bother posting the bond, because if there's not already a hold in the jail for that violation of probation, there will be one soon thereafter. So let's say, for instance, there was not a hold yet for that violation of probation. If she bonded out and then her probation officer is, going to find out about this, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that she's been arrested for this, then they are going to issue a warrant for her arrest, and the bond that she already posted is going to be forfeited. So it's a waste of money. So I don't know if maybe that's what her lawyer's counseling her on as well. But certainly, that would be my opinion if I was her lawyer. Don't even bother, posting the bail, because you're going to be back here.
Are there any more serious charges that she could be facing, out of this? I'm looking at the affidavit again, and, right now it's indecent, lewd, or lascivious touching of certain minors. That's the charge she faces right now. But, we've got all this stuff, it says, according to the affidavit, she then exposed her breasts to the victim and insisted the victim touch them. The victim complied with the suspect's request and touched her bare breasts. The suspect also kissed the victim several times, and she was rubbing against him at his private parts and things like this. I mean, just like,
Yeah, it's pretty
it's almost like
perverted
it's like
stuff.
she thinks she's on a date. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe this.
Yeah, no, there's some pretty perverted allegations. Again, just given the context of her son being the same age, and her age, and that her son's friends were coming over to hang out. It's a really perverted context. But in terms of the charges itself, I do think that the police, I think that they did charge at the maximum level that they have the ability to right now. They charged her with the 2 counts. I would guess that the 2 counts are, 1 for, the forced touch of her breasts, and 2 for the touch of his genitals over the pants. So, they charged her with the appropriate number of charges based on the allegations. And in Florida, where things could get more serious is if there were later allegations of any actual sexual activity, meaning, penetration of some sort, or something more sexual than what's been alleged here, then yes, we would get into the context of sexual battery, which would be a more serious charge. But as it stands, based on the facts that I read, I think that these are the right level of charges.
Interesting. What makes me kind of wonder about this too, and maybe, if we look at this and assume all of this is true and proven in court, is this where she thinks, oh, I have access to this, ready access to this kid? Is there more there though? Is there more there?
Right.
I kind of wonder if they get a hold of her social media, her cell phone. Is there something more to this? Like, will they find more?
Right. I mean, that's certainly a valid question, right? It's hard for us to think as a society, knowing what we know about these other types of cases and just how abuse occurs, that it would be one time in a vacuum. But certainly it's possible. It is also possible that they do uncover more evidence that unfortunately this wasn't the first time that this has happened, or maybe other boys that this has happened to when they've come over to her house. But certainly right now, that's just us speculating, right? We don't know. But I would be interested to see if the police did get her phone, and in this case, again, just going based on the probable cause affidavit, I don't know that they would have enough right now to get a warrant for her phone. But there could be more that's not reported, and maybe they are able to, and certainly we would find out then. But right now, who knows? But certainly valid question, right? That's where your mind goes.
That's definitely where my mind goes, and especially with her TikTok, her Facebook, all the photos she posts. And also now I kind of think about her family, and especially her son. I mean, this really can tear a family apart.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine how her son is feeling right now. I mean, these are his friends, and to find that out, that your friends are saying your mom did this, that son is a victim as well. I mean, to think that this is possibly going on in your home, and then there could be some level of guilt on his part because he had his friends come over. I mean, these are just all the things that could be going through his head that also make him a victim, and really tear a family apart. I mean, God forbid this is true, and it is proven at trial. Like, I don't know how, as her husband, you can repair that, as her son, how you can forgive that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the courts.
Yeah, it really will. Just really disturbing. And the ick factor is just off the charts. Mackenzie Sachs, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So just to recap, Lisa Singh faces 2 third-degree felonies of indecent, lewd, or lascivious touching of certain minors. She is in the Duval County Jail being held on a $100,000 bond. She's accused of kissing a teenage boy who's 16 or 17 and asking him to touch her breasts at her home, and then threatening him if he told anybody. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.